Aloha, everybody. It's your pal Eric, and today I want to talk to you about my experience driving over 5,000 miles on my home built e-trikes. I happen to live on the island of Kauai, where it is hard to get things e-bike related. Schwinn will not ship a Meridian trike to Kauai for a variety of reasons. Our local Walmart is the only one who brings them in, and they only get a few a year. This means that you have to randomly find one available in the store, which can be like winning the lottery. Instead, I check Craigslist for whenever a used trike is offered for sale. They're usually purchased for an elder who finds them hard to ride up anything like a hill, and then they're sold for $100 or $300 in used condition. Our tropical climate is hard on bikes, and a new bike will have some rust on it within a couple months regardless. Next, we're going to talk about how we do the installations, and I'm also going to put a link in the description below to a video that we did earlier that goes into much more detail and gives you a step-by-step process in exactly how to do the installation. The Meridian trikes have three different wheels. The front wheel has its own axle and goes between the dropouts on the forks. The left rear wheel is a free spinning wheel and has a round opening where you slip it over the axle. The right rear wheel is a drive wheel and is round with one flat side where it slips over the axle. The axle also has a flat side to match the rim hole. This is the drive surface where the torque is transferred to spin the wheel when you pedal. Because of the setup of the different wheels, I like to do the conversions with front wheel kits, as this is the easiest way to do it and the performance is great. Being that I am on a Hawaiian island in the middle of the sea, I have to order directly from China, which costs an extra $180 for shipping for either a front wheel conversion kit or a battery. So that definitely increased the costs. If you are on the mainland, you can order kits from eBay and Amazon. You'll be able to get your stuff a lot quicker and a lot cheaper. The conversion process is fairly simple and involves swapping out the front wheel, mounting the controller, swapping out the handlebar grips along with installing a little throttle that slips over the handlebar, and then a little LCD display. Very easy, very simple stuff if you've done anything, semi-mechanical like that. What goes fast must come to a stop, so I like to upgrade the brake pads for more stopping power. The Meridians have traditional caliper brakes with standard size pads. The larger pads are an essential upgrade as they increase stopping power by something like over 30%. If you'll be riding your bike in the road with vehicle traffic where there is no bike path, I would recommend swapping the brake levers from left to right. This allows you to use the front brakes with your right hand while using your left hand for hand signals when you're in traffic. Now let's talk a little bit about the performance of these Meridian e-trikes. To start with, if you have never ridden a three-wheeler before, there are some things that you're going to need to learn. These bikes are good for riding straight, but not for taking corners, as you cannot lean. When it is time to turn a reasonable corner, you will need to slow way down. The more stress you put on the wheels when making turns, the quicker you will wear out the spokes on the rear wheels. For top-end speed, there are several things that influence this. One is the number of watts the motor and battery can deliver together. The second is how heavy you are. The third is whether or not there is any wind. These are the three primary things that influence how fast your bike is going to go, other than, of course, the motor wattage itself. I have built both 1,000 watt and 1,500 watt bikes, and we'll talk about the differences. The 1,000 watt motor can reliably get you to 25 miles per hour for the average weight person on level terrain with no wind. It will take you up a reasonable hill at around 15 miles per hour. The 1,500 watt motor can reliably get you to 28 miles per hour for an average weight person on level terrain with no wind. The 1,500 watt motor does provide more hill climbing ability and can take you at 20 miles an hour and sometimes even higher up most hills. Overall, I would recommend the 1,000 watt motors as they provide the smoothest acceleration curve and don't overpower the fragile front forks. Although the 1,500 watt bikes are faster, they also apply more torque on the front forks, and this can cause problems with stripping out the dropouts. Regardless of which one you go with, it's very important to make sure that the nuts are tightened down very tightly on the forks and that you also use a torque arm as a safety backup. Next, we're going to talk about durability. This is an important subject, especially as you start putting miles on these bikes. They are lightweight and not built with e-bike conversions in mind. The main things that wear out are brake pads, tires, spokes, and forks in that order. Let's talk about it. Brakes. What goes fast must come to a stop. I like to use the wider brake pads as they greatly improve braking power. The Meridian trikes use caliper brakes for the front and a very simple brake drum for the rear, which is pretty much ineffective. They come with standard size brake pads, and the larger ones are about 30% bigger, so their stopping power is definitely noticeable. I found that the brake pads last for 3 tightenings of the cable before the pads need to be replaced. For me, this has been about once a month. Replacing brake pads is easy, and with a little practice can take about 5 minutes. Tires. The Meridian trikes come with a smooth road tire by default. You can replace them with a knobby off-road tire, but you run the risk of having the tires rub constantly on the fenders, so choose the pattern wisely. You can ride the trikes without fenders, but they do a good job of keeping mud and water off of you. Spokes. These trikes are not really designed for going fast, and the spokes are a bit fragile. I have found that in order to get this many miles on a Meridian trike, it's important to learn how to replace broken spokes and true the wheels. You can also buy replacement rims from Schwinn, although I found that some of these arrive untrue and need to be trued as well. The 14-gauge spokes can be bought online, and they're a good investment as well. I also recommend that you have good rim liners on your rims. The wheel rims, especially the right rear drive wheel, will ultimately come out of true and start wobbling. A wheel truing system is also a good investment as they can save you time and money. For me, there's only one local bike shop that will actually true wheels, and they charge $80 each. Forks. The stock forks are not designed to handle the amount of torque produced when you hammer the throttle. The first thing you want to do is install a torque converter, which is a backup in case your fork dropouts fail. The second thing that you want to do to avoid damaging the fragile dropouts is to really tighten down the bolts holding that front wheel on. This is your first line of defense. The third thing you can do is to pedal to get started, which will relieve some of the torque impact on the front wheel. Once you get going, you can go ahead and twist that throttle. If you do ruin the front forks, which I have done several times, you can order replacements from Schwinn. You can replace these with some stronger forks, but I have yet to do that. Operating costs. Even if you pay somebody else to maintain them, an e-bike is the lowest cost form of rapid transportation available. I can't even see the difference in my monthly electrical bill, even though we pay 47 cents per kilowatt hour, which is one of the highest rates in the nation. Brake pads, spokes, and tires cost me less than $15 a month. This is the cheapest way to travel. Now let's run over a couple important pros and cons of e-trikes. From my point of view, there are 2 big pros. The first is the cargo capacity. These trikes are like little pickup trucks with a large basket on the back. It's very easy to ride into town and come back with groceries, parts, or supplies for various projects, or even haul your beach gear down for an outing. If you want to haul even more cargo, just get yourself one of those Gorilla 4-wheel garden carts and use a bungee cord to lash it onto the rear frame. Another pro is that these trikes can stand up by themselves. 2-wheeled bikes tend to fall over as the kickstands are inadequate, especially for dirt areas, and when they do fall, they can sustain damage. The trike naturally stands up on its own and can be easily loaded with cargo. They don't fall over and break. Now let's talk about some of the cons of owning an e-trike. For some people, an e-trike is not a popular look. They are not as popular as 2-wheelers as they carry a certain stigma, being perceived as something for those who are elderly or feeble. The second is that they take more room to store. Because these are 3-wheelers, their footprint is larger than a 2-wheeler and can consume more room in your garage or storage area, so be prepared for that. An e-bike can save you a lot of money for transportation, but you do still need to drive your cars as they can go into mechanical decline if they're not used. In addition to saving money, your daily ride to work becomes a highlight instead of something to dread. You get fresh air, sun, and an opportunity to check out that little park you've never stopped at. So get out there, build yourself an e-bike, and start enjoying your everyday.